It appears that many conservative media outlets are really starting to lose patience with Donald Trump on his issue of ignoring the judge's orders, on the issue of destructing the economy, all of these horrible things that Trump is doing. Conservative media for, a good 2 months was mostly willing to either let it go or, in most cases, outright defend it. But that honeymoon is apparently coming to an end. Donald Trump already had a very short and rather horrific honeymoon with the voters, and now his honeymoon with conservative media is also prematurely ending. This week, Newsmax, of all places, an outlet that basically exists solely to prop up Donald Trump, they brought in Republican Representative Brandon Gills. Now, Mr. Gills, following Donald Trump's post on Truth Social this week saying Judge James Boasberg should be impeached for stopping his migrant flights, Gills decided to take it upon himself to draft articles of impeachment. So Newsmax brings him on. And for the record, they actually had a rather incredulous host doing the interview, Sean Kreisman. And Kreisman, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, wanted to know exactly from the guy that drafted the articles of impeachment, Brandon Gill, what crime did the judge commit by ruling against Donald Trump? So Kreisman asks, I have to ask you this for impeachment. Obviously, you have to have high crimes and misdemeanors. What crime did the judge commit? And to that, Republican Representative Brandon Gill from Texas said, this is for usurping the executive's authority, for demeaning the impartiality of the court by making a politicized ruling and forcing a constitutional crisis. That is a high crime and misdemeanor. Now, Kreisman, unfortunately, didn't follow up. He just said, Congressman Brandon Gill sharing that with us today. We do appreciate the time, Congressman. Thank you so much. But you could tell that Kreisman, again, however you pronounce that, my apologies, he wasn't buying it. That was not a convincing argument because, by the way, nothing that Brandon Gill said in that short little statement was a crime. Those are just things you think. He's usurping power. Actually, he has the constitutional authority to do it. He's demeaning the impartiality of the court. No, he's literally doing what the court is designed to do. It's not a politicized ruling. It's one based in law. And he's not forcing a constitutional crisis. Donald Trump is doing that. So by your own standards, Brandon Gill, all of these things you're accusing the judge of doing are actually the things that Donald Trump did. And if it's worthy of impeaching a judge over, what you're actually doing is calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. He's the one forcing the constitutional crisis by ignoring the court's orders. Right? But again, that's just a microcosm of what we are seeing come out of conservative media. Typically, I don't think a month ago, I can prove that a month ago things like this wouldn't happen. Because a month ago, we had other conservatives pushing to impeach. They filed articles of impeachment against other judges who ruled against Donald Trump. Newsmax wasn't pushing back on them. Newsmax wasn't asking people to validate and verify why this is even necessary. Neither was Fox News or One America or Real America's Voice or any of the conservative podcasters. So a month ago, when things like this were also happening, there was no pushback from conservative media. Now there is. Or at the very least, maybe not pushback, but more, could you maybe justify what you're doing here? And that is still a big step forward. But it's not just the issue of the judges. Look at the issue of the economy. Donald Trump did an interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox News this week where she point blank asked him, are we going to have a recession this year? Of course, Trump danced around the answer, but even Fox News is starting to get very nervous. Maria Bartiromo, who's been Trump's biggest cheerleader on the network, is now talking about, wow, the economy's getting real bad. And it's kind of getting real bad because of his decisions. Other hosts on the network are starting to say the same things. Not Jesse Waters or Sean Hannity, and mostly not Laura Ingraham. But there are cracks. There are cracks in the conservative media. Other conservative media outlets and personalities have already come out against Donald Trump violating the judge's order. They've come out against the trade war. So there are things that the conservative media is starting to lose patience with. Will they ever fully turn against Donald Trump? Absolutely not. But they may not be the cheerleading squad that Donald Trump was depending on to sell these policies to the public. And that is probably going to hurt his polls. Maybe not a ton, but it sure as hell isn't going to help him in any way. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.